Welcome to the Briefing Room. In today's episode, we speak with Ross Osborne, Chief Engineer and Technical Director at SYPAQ Systems. We discuss his 16-year journey at SYPAQ, moving from a graduate role at a global prime to leading a team that is designing, manufacturing and delivering world-class autonomous systems right here in Australia. We talk about the famous IKEA-style cardboard drone and how it went from sitting on a shelf to full-rate production in 5 weeks to support the front lines in Ukraine. Ross shares why he believes that despite the traditional 10-year acquisition journey in defence, Australian industry has every piece of the puzzle needed to be a global leader. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Briefing Room. Whether you're in defence, investing into the future, or simply curious about how great ideas become reality, this is your mission briefing. Let's get started. Ross Osborne, thank you for joining me in the Briefing Room. We've been chatting a lot offline, so I thought we might as well turn the mics on and get going with this episode. So not only are you an advisor for Beaton's Own Venture Partners, which we are very grateful, and it's to our benefit and all of our portfolio companies that we have you on board, but would you like to do an introduction to what it is that you do when you are not helping others?
Sure. My day job, I guess, is I'm the Chief Engineer and Technical Director at SYPAQ Systems, and I head up a rapidly growing engineering team that is focused on developing world-class products for our military right here in Australia.
Now, it's not a new company, is it?
No.
So it's hard in this sector because there's a lot of companies that have come to the forefront or been talked about a lot recently. You're doing really exciting things. However, it wasn't in the last couple of years. We're talking, you've been there personally for 16 years.
Yeah, I have. I just celebrated 16 years at the company, which is wild for me to think about, actually. It's certainly when I joined the business, I don't think I could have dreamt that we would be where we are today and that I'd be doing what I'm doing with the organisation today. But SYPAQ had a very successful history before I joined the company. It was founded in 1992, so it's been around.
What were they doing in 1992?
From the outset, and we still do it today, predominantly professional services and consulting work into defence and government as our main sectors. Over the years, though, over that 30-plus year journey, the company's done a really diverse range of work, and I think that has been the thing that's kept us strong over that long journey is the diversity in the business. But that original professional services core of the business, and that's what SYPAQ was when I joined the organisation back in 2010. That is still a very important part of the business today and still a backbone of what we do at SYPAQ. And probably one of the things I think that makes SYPAQ in the innovation space a little bit unique and a little bit different is that we have that strong core to the business that's been there for decades. And then in the last decade and a bit, we've been able to be quite successful at developing some new and exciting technology.
When you joined 16 years ago, what was your role?
I think when I joined the company, I was the youngest person in the organisation. And
were you straight out of uni or no?
No, I worked for a big defence prime prior to that, BAE Systems. I did a graduate engineering program there and had an absolutely fantastic run. I was in that organisation at a really exciting time. And not surprisingly, through that journey, my focus at BAE was on autonomous systems, which is still what I'm passionate about today. So I had a great foundation from the big prime and then took a real chance. I think I had no idea what a consulting engineering company in defence industry really even did. But I knew I was ready for a change. I was ready to see the industry from a slightly different perspective. And I joined SYPAQ and started working as a consultant providing services into defence, really more on the government side than the technology or innovation side.
And so what's the day-to-day look like for you now in your role?
Well, my day-to-day now, it's a very busy time for SYPAQ. We extremely lucky to get to lead and work with an incredibly talented group of engineers. And we work on some of the most challenging problems in defence today. And that's, for me, what makes it so exciting. The team at SYPAQ to deliver the types of technologies we build is a real multidisciplinary engineering team. So we have, my job, I guess, is to help to bring together all those different engineering skill sets and execute on building the best product we possibly can and meeting the needs of our customers.
And so what is the most exciting product that you worked on?
Gee, it's hard to pick just one. It's hard to pick just one. Over the journey at SYPAQ, I've personally been lucky to work across so many different segments of defence, whether it be from the consulting start that I had at SYPAQ through to working with some of the biggest prime systems integrators from all around the world and helping them find a home for their products here in the Australian defence market, right through to what we do today. But I think every year it just seems to get a little bit more exciting, and the things that we're working on right now are amazing. Recently, we were able to deliver a small drone into the Australian Army. For me, that was the culmination of almost a decade-long journey from when we began talking with Australian Defence about the possibility of an Australian company being able to do this, through to now where we've delivered the Corvo X drone into service. And I couldn't be more proud to have 100% Australian designed, built, manufactured product going into service for our Australian soldiers and supporting
How good is
them.
that? Congratulations. That's a milestone. It shouldn't be such a big
Yep.
milestone, or for it to take that long, but it just is, right? This is
Absolutely.
the frustration with the system and the way that innovation is adopted and integrated into the ADF. So can you talk about that drone in particular? What does it do?
Sure.
What's different about it?
Yeah, it's a.
What are they using it for?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a small fixed-wing drone, vertical takeoff and landing configuration, and it's optimized for surveillance roles. Every part of the system is designed to be as small and lightweight, as compact as it can, so that it can support a soldier in a dismounted combat role, so they can really carry it with them whilst they're operating and use it to look over the hill, around the corner, and increase their situational awareness. It's a capability that the Australian Army has had for a long time through other systems, but I'd like to think that the Corvo X really brings the very best of 2026 technology to the fore for the Australian soldier in that context.
So how many are in use? Like, what are we talking numbers-wise? Do you know? Is around about?
It's actually one of the things that we don't often talk about, is just how many we've delivered. But I can say that we've delivered the systems under a major acquisition program. So for me, it's been quite different to some of our other systems where we've either demonstrated them or delivered them into an urgent operational situation, or maybe through an R&D program. This has gone through a proper defence acquisition program, all of the necessary engineering and checks and rigour that comes with those programs we've worked through, and the result, I think, is a real robust, world-class product.
So you said 10-year journey.
Sure.
So the product that's being used right now by the Australian Army, how different is it to what it looked like when you started 10 years ago?
That's a good question. The overall concept has held over that journey. And
I've always wondered, when it's so long like that, the requirements change, tech changes and evolves so rapidly. So I often think, when it takes that long, how much does a product actually change?
I think that's the biggest challenge facing drone technology right now in industry, is that rapid rate of change. And I think there are some areas that change incredibly quickly, and I think there are other areas that do actually hold over time. But this system, that 10-year journey, has been a real winding path at times, and it's certainly not been the only thing that we've worked on over that journey. But in the beginning, the beginning of the 10-year cycle was really Defence engaging directly with industry to ask the question that at that time they'd just acquired a capability that was manufactured in the US, like much of the technology that is world-class today. But the question was asked if we wanted to do this in Australia, and at the time there was no compelling option from an Australian company that would have been competitive. So I think at the time, absolutely what should have been done is to buy the best and make sure our soldiers have the best equipment available to them to do what can be a pretty tough job at times. So it made sense then, but it was great that the conversation was getting started in industry about what would it take. And I think the resounding feedback was, we can absolutely do this here in Australia. We have such a rich heritage and history in autonomous systems here. We've got incredibly talented engineers and manufacturing organisations, and we've got all the pieces of the puzzle that we need to do this well. But we need that engagement. We need that hook. We need the buying signals from the Commonwealth to encourage companies like SYPAQ to take a risk, encourage us to lean in, encourage us to invest, take on some of those technical risks, commercial risks, And that's what government did. The conversation started and the feedback loop started, and then all the way through we've had to compete it.
Yep.
And it's been very competitive at every step of the way. So the technology, I guess, that we delivered today, whilst it still looks and feels a lot like the original concept that we proposed, we really did overhaul that technology in the last 18 months to make sure that the thing we're delivering today is using the absolute best, latest technology that's available and is very current and relevant right now in 2026.
Mm. So when something like that gets deployed and used and it's in service,
Yep.
how do you now maintain that so that it remains relevant and the latest? Does it continuously keep getting updated, or are you working on version 2 or 3 or whatever version you're up to? I don't know what version it was that got deployed, but
Yeah.
how do you work with soldiers to know that it's doing what it needs to be doing in the field? Like, do you have direct feedback from people on the ground?
Yeah, we will. We will be receiving that. We've already had some of that through a training program that was a real milestone moment for me to get to spend some time in the field with a group of incredibly talented young soldiers who are very experienced in using this kind of technology, and to see them, embrace and get behind and learn about our new product was a humbling moment for sure. But we expect those communication loops to continue, and then, as with most bits of military technology, there's usually 2 contracts. There's an acquisition contract to buy the equipment, and there's a sustainment contract to support it through its life. And we will be doing that for the years to come.
It's so nice to see, because there's a lot of companies looking to do what you've achieved, what you've done, and you're sharing the story that it can be done. And you mentioned that you have everything you need. You have the manufacturing capability. You have all of the pieces.
Sure.
There's a bit of an assumption there that we don't have all the pieces, though. So we don't have the manufacturing capability.
Yeah.
What do you say to anyone who says we don't have what it takes to build these things at scale?
I would
How
say,
do you come back and say, well, we're already doing it, and what we need to do is we need more of X, Y, Z?
Yeah, I would say it's hard. It's hard to do it here, but we absolutely have the depth that we need in Australian industry to do this. We've got the experienced engineers who've come from, decades of experience on, in my team, it might be people from large prime, defence prime backgrounds. It might be people from the automotive industry, medical devices. We have a good broad skill set of engineers here in Australia who are great at building this kind of technology. But what you do need is organisations who are willing to take the risk, willing to get behind it, and in defence context, willing to go on what will be a long journey. It doesn't matter how you look at that. I think it will take time, even as technology evolves quicker, and government is always looking for ways now to accelerate. It's not lost on anyone just how fast this industry is moving and how important it is that we maintain pace in our innovation cycles. At the end of the day, the technology is complex. When you develop it to a level of maturity that it's ready to hand over to a soldier and be used, and that's a real responsibility there. That product needs to work when they need it to work. They're doing a tough job that's easy to forget just how challenging that environment that they operate in can be. We want the products to be safe. We want them to be reliable. We want them to be well supported. And that does take time.
When you mentioned talent there, you've got a large team of engineers, and you said that a few of them are coming across from, multiple coming across from different sectors, whether it be automotive, medical backgrounds. Sure. Are there any industries which you're seeing be disrupted by, let's say, AI, might not have as many job opportunities, and that you would like to see more people realise opportunities and take that skills that they have and come across into this sector?
The thing that makes developing an autonomous systems product really exciting for me, and it should be clear that's not the only thing we do at SYPAQ. We have incredible teams working on problems in lots of different domains, but for the purpose of this, I enjoy that you need all of those different engineering types, and you need them all to be operating at a high level. You need that team to be working well together, and that is the real challenge. There's no real room in an autonomous system. It's a small flying machine, and often I think there's a misconception that the smaller they are, the easier they are. It's actually probably the opposite because
Yes.
they're smaller. Everything has to be more compact and lightweight and efficient and optimized. And so seeing all those engineering skill sets come together for me personally is what makes the workplace really exciting and the problems we're trying to solve exciting.
Mm.
And that is the thing that I would pitch to young engineers coming through today when they're trying to figure out, what direction they want to take. I think, gee, if you can find an industry where you get to work in and engage across different engineering disciplines and see all, software engineering, electronics, aerodynamics, mechanical structures, guidance, nav and control, all those different things working together in harmony, and you can find yourself in that environment as an engineer. I think that's just such a great opportunity and very exciting.
It is exciting. And I've spoken to lots of different people, luckily through this podcast. I get to meet lots of interesting people. And a lot of the US VCs always mentioned, or companies, mostly in reference to hackathons and bringing engineering talent in or technical talent into the defence sector as a tool, as a mechanism to move them across, and give them exposure to work on defence projects. But they did consistently mention that once younger people were aligned with the mission or understood that they were working towards a bigger picture or a bigger outcome together, there was this stickiness to staying in the sector because they really felt like they could have an impact. Do you see that at SYPAQ, or young engineers liking or more in your sort of being a bit more aligned with an end goal or a mission rather than just the day-to-day work?
I think so. I think the nature of the technology that we develop is a little unique in the defence industry in that whilst the timeframes still seem long, in the instance of the Corvo X or perhaps our cardboard drone that we're even more well known for, the innovation cycles on those were quite quick. So we had the opportunity to take a new concept from a blank sheet of paper. And in the journey to go from a blank sheet of paper here in Australia right through to a product delivered in service, many opportunities to engage with the end users, engage with the talented suppliers that we use. And I think trying to tie that sense of purpose and mission into the programs really helps. And I think the timeframes in defence industry terms are fast in the autonomous systems
10 years.
world.
10 years is fast.
It is fast. You compare that to a shipbuilding program or a large land vehicle program.
Exactly.
You could find yourself, spending quite a number of years in a project and see the program, move through a smaller number of phases of its journey than you would on an autonomous systems program. So for me, that's what keeps it really exciting. It's probably one of the reasons I chose to join a smaller company looking for that more dynamic environment. And I think that is one of the things that helps us at SYPAQ to keep our engineers engaged and excited.
Yeah, that's
good.
At
least I hope so.
Well, look, they're still there and they're churning out the good work. So, and one of those things you mentioned there, the cardboard drone. Now, this is, I mentioned to you offline that when I first joined Beaten Zone, Steve was always talking about, and he still does talk, give a lot of airtime to the cardboard drone because it's very impressive to anyone understand how does it work, what does it look like, who came up with the idea?
Sure.
Can you give us a bit more insight into, first of all, who came up with the idea?
Yeah.
How does it work?
Yeah.
And where is it being used?
Yeah, of course. The journey of the cardboard drone is a fascinating one. It's a story I enjoy telling because it is at times seems quite wild and very non-traditional for the defence industry. But the idea started back in 2018. It's actually when I first met Steve. Mm-hmm. It was through an Innovation Day program put on by the Australian Army. And we pitched a concept. I guess I did come up with the concept initially of a low-cost disposable drone to solve some logistics problems for defence. And at the time, the theme of that Innovation Day program was using autonomy to solve logistics problems. And I remember in 2018, that was a time where there was so much buzz around the industry around delivery drones. People, and there was drones delivering food in Canberra, and there was a whole number of companies.
I think Amazon had their wing project.
Google
somewhere in
and
Logan.
It was gonna be transformative for logistics in the commercial sector. And I think we all know where that's all ended up. But we thought there's got to be an angle here into defence where we really try and take. When I started my career at BAE Systems quite a long time ago now, drone technology was very expensive. It was really reserved only for the military. The affordable consumer electronics side of the drone industry didn't exist. And over time, that started to change. And now, at the beginning of my career, I had to explain to people what a drone was.
Yeah.
And now you don't have to do that.
Toy, yes.
No, everyone's kid's got one, and
Yes.
most people have been exposed to a drone just in their day-to-day lives and are excited about the technology. So that in 2018, that was well underway in changing, and we were seeing a lot of electronic components coming onto the market that were so much more affordable than those traditional defense products. I remember at the beginning of my time with SYPAQ, we were helping a US company who made an autopilot product. It was the best in the business at the time, and I think that autopilot, that was like a $30,000 to $40,000 item just for the autopilot. And then you had this influx of low-cost components and technology and open source software programs and all of these things that were making drones so much more accessible. And we thought, defense needs to start taking advantage of this as well. And there needs to be a segment in their market where they can have a lot of cheap drones. And if we look at where we are today, I think that was perhaps a
good decision.
A good decision back in 2018.
The right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And we took the concept to Army Innovation Day. For me, I found that day quite confronting as Steve was there as the Shark Tank investor and brought a whole heap of Shark Tank style to the day, questions and interaction.
I remember when he went actually, and he was very excited about going to an Army Innovation Day. And then when he came back and talked about he often references looking at James Bond lab in terms of all these things available that most people have no idea about. But obviously for yourself, confronting in what way?
Confronting in that I found myself standing on a stage doing a 3-minute Shark Tank style pitch. And as an engineer in our industry, that is not normal for us. But nonetheless, it went quite well and we managed to secure a contract. But when we talk about the speed of innovation and the pace that things can move at, there's a couple of points in that PPDS or cardboard drone program that are worth mentioning. I know before we went to Army Innovation Day, and this would be pretty standard practice for SYPAQ, we very rarely turn up and pitch a concept where we haven't already done some engineering at risk on our own, where we haven't invested some time and energy, built a prototype, and really satisfied ourselves that we understood the left and right of arc on that technology. We're not pitching a complete fantasy here, and that we're very confident when we go into it, we can still be aggressive, chasing those new technology objectives and aggressive on the innovation side. But also, we really work very hard to deliver on our promises and commitments. And I think that has been an important part of what's made us successful. So the cardboard drone, we built a prototype in one day. We flew it the next day, and we wrote the bid for Army Innovation Day on the third day.
Really?
And
it was that fast?
It sounds crazy, but that's exactly how it happened. And we took it to Innovation Day to see if it was something that was going to get legs. And thankfully it did. And the Australian government got behind the program, and we embarked on a 10-month cycle to mature the technology to the point where it will be ready to enter production.
That's a pretty good time frame.
It's an excellent time frame, isn't it? And we did that through calendar year 2019.
3 days of development, prototype, and then 10 months of further future
absolutely. And then at the end of 2019, we had some plans in place to start to integrate that into some exercises with the Australian Army and get the product out in the hands of some users and learn some more and continue the journey. We'd proved the concept in 3 days. We'd then gone and done 10 months of very intense engineering to make it a real product. And we were ready to, at that time, enter production. And in 2020, well, what happened in 2020, COVID hit, and the opportunities to go and be in the field and engage with the end users was very limited. And we actually put the project on the shelf for nearly 2 years.
Really?
Much to the disgust of my engineering team. They were very passionate and excited about the project, as was I, and the whole company. But we were thankfully very busy working on other programs at the time. And then the Ukraine conflict started in 2022. And this is where we get to the next segment of just how fast can things be done when they need to be done. And the Australian government approached us looking to provide some support into Ukraine. And could we send some cardboard drones? And for us, obviously, at the time, it was an exciting opportunity. It certainly gave my team a real sense of purpose. And you mentioned it earlier, just bringing you that bit closer to just how much this matters and how much the technology matters. And if we could even just make a small contribution to that would be something we could be very proud of and hope to continue to do into the future. So we negotiated back and forwards with the Commonwealth quite a bit. There was incredibly compressed timeframes at the beginning, and we ended up agreeing on a 5-week schedule.
Right.
To go from sitting on the shelf for a couple of years, production ready but never done production. And in that first 5 weeks, we updated the design. We were having issues getting components, supply chain stress through COVID. So we had to change and substitute components, test that, and we entered full rate production, and we made 100 systems in 5 weeks and delivered them.
Wow.
And we were able to move that fast.
Mm-hmm.
Commonwealth was able to move that fast.
Yes. So it's possible.
It is possible, and should be really commended, I think, on both sides for coming together and collaborating. I asked for the things I needed from the customer to help us with that, and it was a genuine collaborative effort. And we delivered the systems to the
But can I
Commonwealth
just
here in
ask a
Australia.
question about the drone in particular, in terms of some of the components? First of all, and this is for anyone who might not understand the concept and why it's
Sure.
cardboard.
Of course.
So cardboard, are we talking a special type of cardboard?
Here's the secret that actually lots of people get upset about. It's not actually made out of cardboard.
Okay.
It looks like cardboard.
Right. But it's so lightweight,
lightweight,
disposable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing that's unique about the system, and it was always pitched and bid this way from that first Army Innovation Day activity.
Was the first version made of cardboard?
Absolutely. It was made of the exact same material that every subsequent version's been made of.
Sure.
And the first one actually looks almost exactly the same as where we ended up with the final one from the outside, but a huge amount of work went in on the inside to get everything up to speed and functioning well. But it's a flat pack system, often being compared to the IKEA drone, perhaps. And the soldier gets the airframe flat pack. They get a couple of avionics modules that are all ready to go, and they glue and sticky tape it together in the field. The advantage of the flat pack is you can transport.
And hence the name for IKEA model, being able to put the components together. On site, how long does that take?
Less than an hour for an experienced operator to go from flat pack to ready to fly.
And how big are we talking?
It's a 2-meter wingspan drone that can carry 3 kilograms of payload.
So in a box, it comes in a box.
Comes in a big box that fits on a pallet. It's we stack them in there, and we can deliver a very large number of drones in a small footprint, which is important when you're trying to ship these things around the world, and even more important when you're trying to move them across a battle space.
Yes.
So easy from a logistics perspective to move them around, then they can be built as and when required and utilised. And I think also the fact that the end user gets to put it together, they understand a bit more about the structure and how it works, and I think it encourages them to not be scared to modify it, which is what we love to see.
Okay, so that's encouraged.
100%.
Okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
absolutely.
So if they were to modify it to a place that was better than what you've created, how does that feedback now come back to you?
Yeah, we were able to take some feedback, or quite a lot of feedback actually, from Ukraine, and I think another interesting part of the program is, and this is what's different to traditional defence acquisition programs, is we were able to iterate the baseline every single month. So every
really
month
rapid.
that we were pushing out a new product, we were incorporating engineering changes and improvements to that product. And that is what we hear and
That's
see
exactly
a lot
right.
about.
Yeah, that innovation, the feedback loop, you're getting it direct from people on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I like, because you've called it a program multiple times, so that it's not just that you have a customer and you're selling products. It's part of a program to continuously update and iterate and improve.
Yep. We supplied a good number of the product into Ukraine. We've supplied it to other parts of the world, and we're always working to make that product better. I think we need to stay competitive in the modern battle space. And that is the challenge facing military technology today, is the rate of technological change is faster than we've really ever seen before. And at times that's at odds with traditional defence acquisition programs, and managing change to a baseline on technology that at times has really serious safety and performance implications is something that needs to be done carefully. So we learnt so much from the cardboard drone program, and it was something so different to our other UAS programs.
Yes.
But I like to look back on it and think, gee, we proved that things can be done quickly. There is an opportunity to, when we can collaborate closely with our government customer and the end users, we can keep that product relevant.
But also obviously to keep the cost down, right? Because the materials you were using are at a lower cost to produce.
Mhm.
So that's obviously got to be an advantage to be able to the customer to buy a product that isn't as expensive
Mhm.
as previous types of products in this sector as well.
It's totally different
Totally
business
different.
model. It's
Totally different.
completely different.
So is there a pressure now to keep creating or innovating or coming up with new things that are either better, more aligned with this way of thinking? So we're talking about disposable.
Mhm.
I mean, most things are disposable. I mean, lower cost.
Yeah. There's definitely pressure in the autonomous systems industry more broadly to bring the cost of the systems down. We're seeing that with the sheer volume of systems that are being used in current conflicts, which is probably more than we've ever seen before. So the economics of that are important. I think it's also important to acknowledge that there are a lot of other things here that matter just beyond raw cost. Things like our ability to manufacture them here, right here in Australia. That's going to come at a different cost to manufacturing in other parts of the world. But I think that's important. And I think that the small premium to be paid to ensure that we have the capability to do this work and manufacture these parts. And as you drill down into the supply chain, you look at all the individual components and really understand where they're coming from in the world and just how much of that can we make and source locally in the in the event that we need to do that is really important. And those are the things that we focus on as we look forward. We focus on keeping our technology relevant and world class. We focus on continuing to build our capability in our organisation to manufacture as much of the components as we possibly can here in Australia, and whether that's in-house at SYPAQ or working with a great network of suppliers here in Australia and partners, then that's what I think we all need to be aiming for.
Mm. So how big are your facilities in Victoria?
Yeah, sure. We have across our organisation, we're around 200 people. We have a 5,000 square metre facility in Melbourne that is our headquarters for the organisation, and it's where we do all of our manufacturing.
So all the manufacturing is done there as well, on site.
Absolutely.
Is that set to change or grow or expand to, so say if you do need to scale and produce more product,
Sure.
can you do it there or do you need other
Yeah.
facilities?
We made a real leap when we took on board the current facility. It was probably a little larger than we needed at the time, and that was about 5 years ago now. And interestingly enough, we suddenly start to find ourselves bursting at the seams again, which is it was a great problem to have. But no, we have capacity in the current footprint to continue to grow, continue to build and deliver these types of products. So I think we've made significant investments over the journey to be able to be ready to scale when we need to be able to respond quickly when the customer needs us to. And that's been easily as big a job as designing and building the drone itself is maturing the organisation around it. Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the original discussion we had about having product in warfighters' hands. You've got current product being used by the Australian Army, which was a 10-year journey. Now that you've got to that level, does that cycle or the customer acquisition cycle change? Does it reduce, or is it going to be as long every time because you're going to go with a new product?
I think it will accelerate for sure. I think the pressure in the industry right now to find ways to do this more efficiently and more quickly, with that pressure of the technology is changing so quickly, we need to do it more faster to stay competitive. That will naturally drive it to be better. But I do think that the defence industry will always be slower than most people expect, just because of the nature of the technology we build. It's complex. It takes time to build it and develop it to those levels of maturity that you need. And it will always move, I think, a little bit slower than other industries around us. But I don't think that's necessarily a terrible thing. I think the products need to be well engineered and they need to be reliable, and we need to be delivering a high quality product.
So what are you working on next? What's exciting you at the moment?
It's an interesting question. When we look ahead, we recently were awarded a contract allowing us to look at some counter drone technologies. So I'm excited about that. We've spent well over a decade getting really good at building the drones themselves. It stands to reason that we should be able to do a pretty good job of figuring out how to defeat them.
Yes.
And that is a burning, pressing problem facing all modern militaries across the world is just how do we defend ourselves against that rapidly changing threat environment. So we've been on that journey for a while now internally at SYPAQ, and we're going to continue with that. I'm excited to continue to streamline and mature our manufacturing capability so that we can continue to deliver these drones, to a high standard, faster, continue to scale that. We love doing research and development programs. That's one of my favorite things to do, and it'll always be an important core to our business. And we will continue to invest in that as we have done for a long time now. But the end goal for us is to deliver capability into service.
Yes.
Is to deliver products to our warfighters who need them, deliver world-class products manufactured right here in Australia. So continuing to evolve and grow that side of our business as we build more experience is really important to me. And then keeping that research and development thread pulling through, and keeping that commitment that we've always had to invest ahead of the curve, invest our own resources in that is a priority, so we can stay ahead.
Because you mentioned that you do have direct feedback with the people on the ground, soldiers, or whoever it is that you're using the product, whether it's people putting it together and deploying it. Could you get closer? Could you get closer to end users to get more ideas from people on the field? Do you think you've got a good communication channel at the moment?
I think it's very important that we always prioritise those communication channels and take any opportunity that we can to learn. Much of my engineering team, we're a group of engineers, so having that operator feedback and voice in the room is very important. But over the journey, the innovation programs that we've worked on with the Australian Defence Force, that's one thing that's been done really well, is we've had great engagement with those end users. We've had great opportunity to discuss the technology on the way through the development program. And then internally at SYPAQ, we have probably nearing a quarter of our workforce are veteran. So
yeah, I was going to ask that. Do you have any ex-ADF or current?
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
Right from the top, George.
You need that intel inside the organisation, plus also for a cultural aspect, right?
Yeah, it helps to remind us of that sense of purpose. Translate
the language.
Yes, the operators in our organisation are always quick to tell the engineers when we've completely missed some really important point, and they're usually right. So having those feedback loops is important. George, who founded the company and is still active in the business today, he had a career in the Air Force as an engineer prior to founding SYPAQ.
Very, very close to
it's right at the core of what we do. And many of the people in the team, like myself, have spent the vast majority of their career in defence industry, if not in defence. So,
when we were talking before, you said a large part of your role is managing people.
Sure.
Now you've got a team of how many engineers? Did you say?
It varies. A decent sized team.
A large team of engineers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's 2026, we're recording this, and the graduates, or let's say people leaving high school in this year, were the kids who were learning STEM in prep almost. I think it was this long, it was 12 years ago that they started introducing a lot of technical programs, even entrepreneurship, different ways of thinking in school, embedding STEM programs.
Yep.
Now, they've been exposed to this way of thinking and a lot of engineering-focused ways of operating embedded into different aspects of the curriculum. Do you see a large amount of engineering talent coming out with different skills at the moment, or is it still very traditional?
I think the engineers that we're coming through university today, particularly in the autonomous systems space, they have so many advantages that didn't exist when I did my engineering degree, for example, where they can be engaged with and experimenting with drone-type technology during their degree because it's affordable, it's accessible, and that didn't exist when I studied engineering. So we're always looking for those candidates who have that passion and interest for some of those technology elements, who've already done some interesting projects that are aligned with the types of technology that we build, and we're just seeing more and more of that come through when people apply for jobs at SYPAQ, and that's exciting for me. Those are the things I'm always looking for the students who have got those interests outside of their studies that are aligned. And we just recently took on board a number of graduate engineers, and for many years we built the engineering team around a smaller group of senior engineers who brought a lot of experience with them already. And I'm really proud now that we've reached the point where we have a large enough and diverse enough engineering team that I feel like we can give the mentoring opportunities and the structure to those fresh graduates.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, that we might not have been able to give when we were a smaller team. So that for me is another exciting kind of moment for us in our development. And I had the benefit of a great graduate program in a big defence company. These larger defence organisations typically do these programs quite well. So I'm excited to bring some of that to SYPAQ now.
That's exciting and good to hear. There's lots of good talent still coming
There
through,
is. We had an incredible
great.
response the last time we advertised for jobs. The level of response was like nothing we've seen before.
It's nice to know that engineers can be exposed to those job opportunities here in Australia. They don't have to go overseas looking for those employment opportunities to work on exciting projects.
Absolutely. I'm super passionate about seeing the Australian industry as a whole be competitive globally, be successful.
And hopefully we can keep growing and keep them here, which is now one last question, which I'm keen to understand, because you seem to have, like, you got a lot of energy around this. You seem very excited still to be working on this. So it's not just a job for you, I can tell. It's definitely a deeply embedded passion, like you want to achieve some things. Do you dabble in any projects yourself? Like I can tell you might be a tinker or something, always coming up with some sort of an idea. Do you have any sort of side projects or things that you're doing on the sideline that's not work related, just because that's the way your brain operates?
Yeah, I'm an engineer through and through. I'm a very hands-on engineer. I love building things, and over the journey, there's really always been something going on around my engineering job. But in the last few years, I've probably done the worst job at work-life balance, and I've been very busy working on the drones and really loving every minute of it. It's such a privilege to be able to work on technology every day that I'm so passionate about, to do it with a team of people, a team of engineers around me who are equally passionate, and within an organisation who's really given us the space and the freedom to chase these opportunities and get amongst it. But these days, no, I have a large shed at home, and it's full of motorcycles and airplanes. And
so you do have a toy room where you go and still play and
absolutely
find joy in discovering and creating new things.
Yeah, and I think so much of what you bring to your day-to-day life as an engineer can come from those interests outside of work. And if I look across my team, it's full of those kind of individuals, and we really do look for that too. Well,
you'd want it embedded in their personality, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where the good solutions are going to come from.
For sure. I mean, I spent my childhood building RC airplanes, and arguably I still build RC airplanes every day. And so those
now at scale, and people are actually using them.
Those habits are still there, and
yeah, that is exciting. I have a son who's RC obsessed, so I will let him know that there is definitely a future if we want to pursue those interests. It doesn't always have to be a hobby.
100%.
Excellent. Ross, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate insights into SYPAQ, what you're working on, and obviously a little bit of an insight into what might be coming in the future as well. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us in the briefing room. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with the people shaping our national security and future capability. If you liked what you heard, please follow the show, share it with a friend, and join us next time for more stories and insights from the front lines of innovation. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep building the future.